Plus is on. Hello and welcome to the RPG Academy podcast Twitch channel. My name is Michael, and we're here tonight for another episode of Detention Live. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Chris. Chris, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And then joining us tonight as our special guest co-host is John Thompson. John, say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
So I know Chris. Chris knows me. Most people watching this know us, but we don't know you. So who are you?
So, hi, I am John, and most people who know me for I'm part of the leadership of the Rook Rasp Twitch channel, where we focus on indie games and have several campaigns going. But we're more of a community, and we focus a lot throughout the year on charity events as well.
Oh, very cool. Actually, I had the chance to play a game on your channel a while back. You were actually the first ever actual play of Action 12 Cinema. We had a really good time. It went a little long, so we kind of had to just cut out the third act and kind of wrap it up. But I had a lot of fun playing that game, and I was very excited to kind of get it out into the world. So I wanted to say once again, thank you for having me on. Very excited.
Absolutely.
So we're here for Detention Live, as we always do. There'll be one little change tonight for used books. We're actually going to let John talk a little bit about a project he's currently working on. But we're still hoping to have some of the silly fun that we always do. And we like to start with extracurricular. This is where we just talk about what we've been up to lately. It can be books we've been reading, TV shows, movies we've been watching, really, games we're playing, running, writing, whatever you want to share. But I'm going to start with Chris, only because I really wanted Chris to be on our AcadeCon wrap-up episode on Monday. But unfortunately, he has this thing he does where he runs like a really good game that's recorded for an audio podcast, and he was really busy. So just, briefly, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about your AcadeCon experience this year, Chris.
As always, I had a great time. Ran 2 Star Wars games that went really well. Finally got to run Battlestar Galactica. As it should be played, it came down to the last turn. If the last person played the right card, they won. Unfortunately, the humans won, and us Cylons didn't.
Oh.
Yeah. Part of it was new players. They didn't understand my subtle hint of, hey, I've already revealed myself. Other Cylons, if you don't reveal yourself soon, we're going to lose. I was told later that was too subtle.
I was say too subtle. I'm not sure I'm picking up what you're throwing down there.
Yeah. So I
Were
still
you
had
really
fun
a
with
Cylon?
Yes. Actually, I was the unlucky guy that got the sympathizer card, but because of the way the resources were, I had to reveal myself, which was the first time I ever had to reveal myself in that game. And I thought I was going to do some cool stuff, but my teammates didn't understand that they had to do the same at that point. But I still had fun teaching people the game. Still had a lot of fun playing it and trying to figure out who's who. I realized I'm pretty good at those games because I figured out who was one of them right away. But I was like, I'm not going to blow the game up because I was a human at that point. I don't want to ruin his fun. Partially because he hated what every new person does. Looked at their faction card, put it down. 5 minutes later, went, which am I? And picked it back up. If you have to pick it back up, you're 99% of the time a Cylon because you forgot what you're supposed to do. So don't pick it back up if you're listening. So had a great time, meeting new people and, playing games at the desk as always. Super surprised at the rush of people on Saturday.
That was nice for us. But yeah, it was busy.
I think next year we need to put more board games in there, have more people run games, because I spent 2 hours doing nothing but checking games out to people and talking to them about games and trying to, hey, this one's easy to learn. Here's what you have to do. I think next year we need to get more people just playing, here's a 2-hour board game or here's an hour board game to kind of fill in some time.
Yeah.
Still waiting to hear back on a couple ideas I had and see if some people are going to let me run some stuff they used to run. So Mitch, if you're listening, check Twitter. I want to run Geek Wars. Subtle. Hey, the boys are back in town. Hi. So I had a great time, even though the hotel snafu.
Yeah,
I ended up in Airbnb not too far away. That actually worked out really well for us. Fortunately, we weren't able to go hang out with people at the end of the night because we had to drive the opposite direction, and we didn't want to drive a half hour through the city we didn't know. So we were just a little nervous, so we just went back to the Airbnb, but still had a great time. Looking forward to seeing what happens with the Hard Rock Hotel next year.
Yeah, that's a big question mark. If it'll even be open, and if it is open, what's the price range going to be? I don't know myself. I don't have really any experience with that hotel chain at all. But other people have told me that they are generally a very expensive hotel.
Yeah.
So the chances of us getting a room block that's in our rate is probably less likely. But we'll see.
Yeah. And see what the DCC costs. Are they going to go up because the Hard Rock's there now, and now they're going to be doing more concerts, or how's that going to work? Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out
Those are
later.
questions for another day. But again, I wanted to say thank you. You absolutely crushed it over the weekend. You were very helpful at the desk, and give your time. And then some people erroneously credited me as being the hardest working person at AcadeCon, and I quickly corrected them and said, no, sorry, that was Melissa.
Probably.
Melissa
Yes.
absolutely worked her hiney off. And then David too. I mean, he's like I consider him a friend now too, but he's basically a friend of yours who just showed up and just jumped in wherever he could. So absolutely, it was just like we couldn't have got through the weekend if it hadn't been for you and the family. So I just want to say thank you personally, since you weren't there on Monday, because you mean a lot to me as a friend, as a person, and just for AcadeCon. I can't thank you enough for all you do to help make that a successful event. So thank you.
I love it. I love doing it. Trying to hopefully get more people there and keep growing it. I like to see some of our old podcast buddies back out.
Yeah, that would be nice. We got a few at the end there, kind of last minute, but I think COVID is continuing. It's not really going away, but I think people are just getting more and more comfortable with just it is what it is now. Hopefully, again, a full year, maybe it will be completely under control. Maybe the vaccines. I'm actually signed up for my second booster for tomorrow. I think that played a lot into it as well. But we just did more marketing, more word of mouth. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I think there were probably, I'm going to say 20 to 30 people that specifically I talked to on Saturday that had no idea we were there and said they would come back. And that happens every year, but that was such a huge influx. If we can get half of them to actually do that, and those half of them bring a friend or two, then we've now upped our attendance. So, we went into this year hoping we get around 300 badges. We ended up closer to 360. So my goal for next year is 425. I think that's a reasonable amount of growth to expect. And, if we can supersede that by the same level we superseded this year, there's no reason why we can't have that room rocking all weekend. And then maybe the year after we look at renting the bigger room. Like that's kind of the evolution that's been in my head is, when do we need to rent that other room, which is adjacent, that is like 3 times the size.
Oh, wow.
I don't think we would fill it up in 2 years. But if we can afford to rent it, we could spread out the tables, put like 10 feet between each table, help with the noise pollution, still get more people in there, have a lot more room for vendors. Ultimately, that's my goal, is to get to the point where we need that size room. But I don't know when exactly that's going to happen. So thank you again for sharing. Feel free to jump into like just the normal stuff you would never normally cover here.
The only thing I've really done since then, besides work, because I came back to a whole stack of work and, hey, surprise, all the stuff you haven't been able to get for 2 years, here's most of it. Get it all done in a week. I was like, that's not going to happen. So, but at home, we started watching, I think it's called The Bastard Son and The Devil Himself on Netflix.
Not familiar with either of those.
No, that's the name of the show.
Oh,
it's not 2. It's The Bastard Son and The Devil Himself, I think is how it said. I was very surprised. It was very well done.
Okay. I'll put it on the list.
Witches, and the kid is the son of the most evil witch ever, and everything else that goes on. I really enjoyed it. I think it's set in England, but then they end up in Europe doing some other stuff. So it was one of those, I thought this was going to be kind of a goofy teen angsty one that I could make fun of, and very quickly I went, no, this has a very serious plot, and I really enjoyed it. So you should try it. I think it's only like 8 episodes, so it's not many, but I liked it.
Yeah, it'll definitely go on the list. I'm always looking for things. Unfortunately, the list keeps growing. It doesn't get much shorter, but things move around on the list. So high recommendation might get me to check it out.
What have you been up to?
Well, actually, I want to go to John first.
John.
I feel like he's the guest.
Hey.
So tell us a bit about what you've been up to lately.
Well, I mean, other than just the Kickstarter, I will say I was at AcadeCon and I loved it. you know, I had such a great time. I loved seeing so many people playing indie games. The amount of the table, everybody I talked to, I seemed to have a great chat with. And altogether, I was just like, man, I 100% plan on coming back.
Thank you.
I had a great time.
That's one.
Next time I plan on playing and running some games out on the tables, not just manning a booth, but I had a blast. And
We
I
have a
met
good
people
vibe.
and
Like that's
yeah,
the thing. It's hard to explain to people because we're so small, but there is a vibe at our event that I just, again, all humility aside, we're a really cool little thing. It's very indie. We have D&D and Pathfinder, of course, but most of our games are not those.
hmm
And I think the thing that really we are lucky, because I'm not going to say it's me or it's anything intentional, but almost everybody who runs events there runs it because they just love that game and they want to share it with another person. It's not, they don't get a free badge. They're not doing it for, they get swag. They're like, I love this game and I want you to play it. So I'm going to run it for you. That's like 95% of the people run games. So it just feels
it's
good. I'm not gonna
pure.
say better, but yeah,
Well, no, it's
it feels
pure
pure.
because you're definitely sharing something that you are passionate about and that you are like, I want more people playing this.
Yep.
And yeah, I absolutely love that. I mean, I had a friend bring his, Fallout up there, and he ran a few different Fallout games. And yeah, it just to me that opportunity to be around people that share my interests and are cool with, everything. Literally, it's the best, and I'm not, I hope this doesn't sound bad, but it's like the best small con I probably have ever been to.
I like to
Uh,
hear that. You're not
Yeah.
the only person who's told me that. So thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't know
But
if we'd want the headaches of a Gen Con sized convention.
No, the paycheck, yes, but the headache, no.
Other than that, I don't watch too much TV or do much else. I listen to a lot of music and I follow the gaming scene a lot. We just wrapped up a campaign of a little short campaign of Alien from Free League. I loved it. We had an amazing GM who was running it, Revna, who I don't know if she's out there watching. I know she's actually running Alien right now tonight with another group just for fun. But altogether, I mean, I am just blown away by the system. And Revna is an amazing GM who, we're playing at night here and they're over in the UK, not too far outside of London. So yeah.
Yeah.
I love this world that we're in right now to
Yeah.
some extent. Disease aside and how terrible that is, I love how we have become so much more connected and able to network with the people that we interact, that we have interests with globally.
100% agree. It's the circumstances that got us there is terrible, but the result is actually really cool.
Absolutely. And then other than that, I'm gearing up to run a Dragon Age game. So Green Ronin's age system game that they had, and I don't think that they're really distributing it anymore, but I think there's such a love for that world as a video game, which I love video games. That I think has a huge interest for me right now.
Yeah, I have the starter set. I think that one came out. There was like 3 box sets because it's like level 15, so 1 to 5, 6 to 10. So I have the first one. It's one of the things I take to AcadeCon as one of the few RPGs. So yeah, I really like Fantasy Age. I've played it a few times. Every time I play it, like I have fun, but it doesn't capture me enough. Like I'm gonna like run a campaign in it. But I really enjoy playing it at conventions.
Yeah, well, they reworked Dragon Age enough. So the box sets were a good intro rule set, but they've kind of fixed it and made Fantasy Age, and then they made the Dragon Age book after that. And it has a different feel because literally I got in on that Dragon Age game, the box set myself the first time, and I was playing an elf, rogue, and we wandered into a town and a turkey kicked our team's butt. No, which is not unfeasible if you've ever, been around turkeys, but yeah, literally, if the GM had allowed it to, the turkey would have wasted our entire team.
Wow.
And maybe that's the type of game you're going for, but for me, no.
No.
I don't mind getting whipped by a turkey because it could be hilarious. But if a turkey actually like wipes like TPKs the party, I'm not playing that game again.
Yep. Yeah. But no, ever since then, I mean, Fantasy Age is a great game. I love the whole stunt idea, and
Yeah.
Dragon Age kind of builds on that and adds so much more depth. So a lot more race options, a lot more class options, a lot more like integral parts that move in the background. And if you are a fan of the video game, it builds on the world and gives you even more information to go with. So that's always fun.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to share?
That's like the majority of my time, like literally that and running a channel. Because we do like we're just now ending our last season, and the summer season we were running up to 5 shows a week.
Whew.
So yeah, now that we're finally going into winter, we have 2 shows that are running. We have one show that's ending next week for going on break, and yeah, I'm gonna be enjoying these next few weeks, even though at the same time Kickstarter going. But yeah, that's it for me.
All right, so AcadeCon takes over my life for a good quarter of the year. Like the couple months before, that's all I do, every waking moment. Obviously, while I'm there, that's all I do every waking moment. And then after it's over, like that first week, I'm still kind of riding the high. If you're in our Discord, like we're just constantly like, troubleshooting and like game planning, like what went well, let's do more of it. What can we do better? How can we fix it? And I've noticed about myself, I'm a self-diagnosed manic depressive, and I'm at the part where now that I'm coming down the other side, I'm actually starting to be like a little bit depressed, just because I don't have all this, like there's not stuff to do. It's like this weird sort of reverse thing where I don't have 1,000 things to do and I have free time. And then now I'm like, wait, now what do I do? So fortunately, I have filled that with the Kickstarter that I'm building, because Action 12 Cinema is coming to Kickstarter. I've got it's going to be March. I don't have the actual date yet, but it's going to be somewhere in March. We have our faculty retreat coming up in March as well. My game plan right now is to try to coordinate those two, similar to what you did with yours at AcadeCon, so I can hit the button and then have something to do for 2 days, and then not obsess over it, because I'm a very much an obsessive personality, and anyone who knows me knows that about myself.
Yes.
So that's kind of my plan, is to try to coordinate that together. So we shall see. But yeah, that's basically going to be my life for the next couple months, is to getting that Kickstarter ready, hitting go on that sometimes in March, and then just fingers crossed that, just like everything I do, making money, great. My goal is to not lose money. I want to have enough backers that I can afford the print run. We've got our estimates. They're very reasonable. Pay the artists, what they deserve. If I do well, I'm happy to share some extra money with all the people who help me. But basically my goals are all gonna be around how can I not lose money and pay myself back? Because I'm already like almost 3,000 into this with the art that I got paid. And then I hired someone to help me with the writing and the editing and the layout for the first go around. So I've got some money sunk into it. I can absorb that. I'm in a privileged place where that's not going to hurt me, but I would like to at least get that back. If I make money, but I'd like to at least get that paid back. But yeah, so that's 99% what I'm doing. Went saw Wakanda Forever. Huge Marvel fan. I love all the Marvel movies, even the bad ones. I love them all. I thought Wakanda Forever was solid. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I think that based off of the circumstances around that movie and the death of Chadwick Boseman and how they had to evaluate and rewrite and redo things, I think they did an amazing job. And like, if you know why they had to make some of the choices they did, it's like, okay, I can understand. But I also think it's way too long. And again, this is stuff that people talk about Marvel all the time. If they could remove everything that had nothing to do with that movie and was just there to set up other movies, it could be a good 2 hour, 10 minutes, and it would be nonstop. You'd be laughing, crying, cheering, and just, blubbering mess at the right time. But there's so much stuff in there that really doesn't need to be there, other than this movie and this other show that's coming up. And normally that doesn't bother me, but it bothered me more this time than it normally does. But still really enjoyed it. Give it a B. Definitely glad I saw it in the theater. Probably won't see it in the theater again, but I will definitely be watching it when it comes on, Disney Plus. And then, I watch Great British Baking Show every Friday. I watch Andor. Holy smokes, is that show good?
Yes.
Just absolutely one of, if not the best Star Wars content in the last 10 years. Maybe. Again, I love Last Jedi. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. I might put Andor above that. Like, it's just so good. It makes me want to go back and rewatch Rogue One. Makes me want to go back and like rewatch some of the other movies that maybe I didn't like as much. Maybe thinking that I'm not recontextualize them and like them even more. But again, I actually spoke to someone at AcadeCon. We were talking, and they're like, I don't watch anything Disney made Star Wars. Like, I basically the Star Wars ended for me the day Lucas sold it off. I'm like, totally respect that, but you're missing one of the best shows that has ever been made, period, and one of the best Star Wars things ever been made. Cannot speak highly enough of Andor. I know, Chris, you are right there with me as well. If you want to jump in,
I
no
agree.
spoilers to anything.
Haven't seen today's episode come out.
Mhm.
Haven't watched that one yet. But I love it. I'm hooked. I love all the inner dynamic. I think all the characters they have are fantastic. I think they've developed them really well. And I think you end up with a real interest or curiosity as to where they're going to go with each character. Even the bad guys, so to speak. You kind of want to know what's going to happen with them. And that's where I think the writing is brilliant. Because even the Empire, the different people in the Empire and the ISB, you're curious to see what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, the biggest thing that I'm attaching to is, I watched Star Wars as a kid. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm in that range where I think, Return of the Jedi, I was like 10, maybe when I saw that, and think like the perfect age to fall in love with Jedi, and the Ewoks worked for me. It was just, I was the right perfect age to fall in love with Star Wars. So I grew up loving Star Wars. And you grow up loving Star Wars, Empire bad, Rebels good. There's no nuance to that. This show is giving you nuance that, yes, the Empire is really, really bad, but it's not just we blew up a planet bad, which is obviously terrible, but like the casual evilness of how they just hurt people and how it correlates to maybe some things that we're seeing in our world today that we try not to pay a lot of attention to. And then the rebels, not all good people. They're trying to do the things that they think they need to do for the greater good. Again, anytime you bring up that phrase, you have to, be careful. And we know how it turns out because we've seen the other movies in the future, but it really paints a picture of this is a world of grays, and the Empire is well into the dark side of that, no pun intended. But some of the rebels are doing some of the same type of things because of their need to X, Y, or Z. Again, I don't want to give any spoilers. I don't want to say any more than that, but it's a challenging show. Like, you can't just root for good guys and root against bad guys. It causes you to evaluate how you feel. And then again, some of the real world parallels that I'm seeing, it absolutely is one of the best shows I think I've ever seen. And I just absolutely love it, top to bottom. Every episode is my new favorite episode.
But not all the bad guys, like, they're not just doing evil to be evil in this. Now they're doing it because they feel they have some of them almost a righteous cause to do it, because that's what they think is better for everybody. They don't.
That's why it's
realize
not just like they're not like, haha, we're evil. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is order. Like, the things that I'm doing that are terrible are because that's the universe is better if we do this, because they just don't. And again, that's why it's challenging, because you do have a little bit of sympathy of, they don't know they're evil. They're not, again, mustache twirling bad people. They're in a system. They're privileged because they're on this side of it. And so they don't realize how awful they're being in the name of the order in the Empire. So yeah, again, it's just, oh my God, it's so much. Fun's not the right word to say, but it's enjoyable to watch it and rewatch the episodes. And then there's also callbacks and Easter eggs, all the stuff you want to see in Star Wars. So I cannot highly recommend it enough.
Yep. We could keep talking about that for hours.
But we must move on.
Yes.
So now it's time for our first improv game, and this is 10 things. And this is where we will take turns prompting each other to try to come up with a list of 10 things that fit the prompt. The idea here is immediacy is more important than accuracy. So coming up with a list quickly, even if half of them don't make sense, is better in terms of the game than taking your time and coming up with a list of 10 things that fit the prompt perfectly. John, you're our guest, so you get to choose. Do you want to go first in terms of giving Chris or I a prompt? Or would you like to go first in terms of one of us prompting you to give your list first?
Ooh, let's go with the first choice there on that one.
You're going to prompt one of us?
I will try to prompt one of y'all.
Okay, so you can prompt either one you want, and that'll kind of start the circle, and we'll go around from there. So again, you just want to give us a list of 10 things, and these can be anything you can think of, like favorite movies, books you wish you had written, favorite actors. Again, absolutely anything, just 10 of an X, and then we will try to come up with a list.
You see, I'm you list off several there that were pretty good, but I'm also, I say let's have some fun with it. And how about 10 things that you walk in, especially after a AcadeCon, 10 things that you would find in a AcadeCon room, hotel room after the con was ended. If you were housekeeping and you showed up, what were 10 things that people would leave behind?
All right, so is that for Chris or for myself?
Let's go for you, Michael.
Okay. Deck sleeves, because I sleeve all my games and I would have left some behind.
One.
My room key and the other room key, and then the other room key, because I keep forgetting I have them, I lose them, and then I find them later, and so I have many.
So is that
my
2
sleeping
or
bag.
4?
That will count as 1.
Okay, 2.
My sleeping bag.
3.
My weighted blanket, because I travel with it everywhere.
4.
Money, because I have a habit of losing that for some reason.
5.
Some board games.
6.
T-shirts, definitely my AcadeCon T-shirts.
7.
My list of things to do differently next year.
8.
My cosplay outfit.
9. Leave that
and my underwear.
10.
Wow. There you go.
These were a list of 10 things.
Was in fact a list of 10 things. All right. So to keep the circle going, I will prompt Chris, and then Chris will final or wrap things up prompting you. So Chris.
Yes.
Give me 10. Okay, I'll do. Okay. I got it. This is good.
Right.
So we're gonna have faculty retreat. That's gonna be the next big thing that we do. Give me 10 games you want to play at our next faculty retreat.
Hanabi.
1.
The
and
Mind.
2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah. The Mind.
Mine 2.
Marvel Zombies.
3.
Better be in. Just saying. I'd like to play some Battlestar Galactica.
4.
The Transformers collectible card game. I enjoyed that.
5.
Scooby-Doo Dread.
6.
Hint, hint. We could do some Action Cinema 12 because I might have some new
7.
people there.
Yep, nice.
Let's go with the G.I. Joe deck builder.
8.
DC deck builder Rebirth.
9.
That's another one. And Legendary.
Yeah, that was in fact a list of 10 things. All right. So now, Chris, you will prompt John.
All right, John.
Okay, let's see if I can do this.
you mentioned this earlier, so if you can give me 10 things you love about Dragon Age.
Ooh, 10 things I love about Dragon Age. Gritty. It is a gritty world. I'm a old war gamer, and I love Blood and Guts. Blood and Guts is heavy in that system.
2.
BioWare makes incredible games. That at the same time, let's go ahead and talk about romance options.
Ooh,
I'm
nice.
sorry, I might be ace, but I find the romance in games to be absolutely fun.
4.
I love the elves and what they did with them, and that they're not long-lived.
5.
5.
I think that they're up until now the next book coming from Pathfinder, where they're going to do good with the dwarves. I think that Dragon Age, their dwarves are probably some of the most interesting fantasy dwarves that there have ever been.
6.
That's the gods, and the fact that the gods might exist amongst people, which I guess we're going to find out in the next game.
7.
Going on from there, how about Orlais in general? This a fantasy universe that feels a little bit more French than we'll say our standard English fantasy that we usually get.
8.
Okay, now we're going to start getting into harder ones. We're going to talk about the Blight. The Blight is an interesting thing to face because it's something that you can't fix. It's only something you can run from.
9.
Yeah, you can take on the dragon, but otherwise, that's to me is amazing.
Okay.
And last but not least, I absolutely love the fact that they named their world Thetis, because Thetis is literally the Dragon Age system.
Huh.
So it's THE and the DAS. So
Nice. 10.
That was in fact a list of 10 things. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to go into used books. And again, normally this is a time where we talk about a campaign one of us has played in or ran, and we try to mine it for some lessons learned, how we can improve our GMing skills or player skills. Tonight we're going to do things a little bit different. John was very kind and allowed me to come on his show and talk about Action 12 Cinema and help. That again was the first actual play we've ever done live on the air. It's going to be a big part of the Kickstarter. Make sure people can go watch it. So I want to return the favor because John currently has a Kickstarter that not only is it running right now, but he launched it from AcadeCon, from his booth. And last I saw, you were up almost 500% to goal. So you're doing very well, though I think your goal is too low. We'll talk about that. So we're here to talk about Gutterpunk. So you got, 20 minutes or so. Just tell us all about Gutterpunk. What is it? Why should we, and by we, I mean the audience listening, go and support you right now and back it?
All right. So Gutterpunk is for me an idea that came up in a lot of ways, but just the elevator pitch, starting off there, is that you are punks and you are transported to another world where kind of a Isekai or Alice in Wonderland style, where you find yourself not in our reality and you are facing the forces of what is authority with magic, music, and attitude. To me, I wanted to make a game for a lot of different reasons that checked a few boxes. One of those boxes that I wanted to check was the idea of punk in a game. There are a lot of games out there that talk about punk in general or have that word as a buzzword or just something that is it's different, so therefore it's punk. And I wanted to create a game where punk is center stage and it takes on parts of the culture of it as well as aspects of the music. I was actually in the punk scene in the 90s. I played with bands in some of the most rundown, horrible places to skate parks, out front of town halls. I really got into the whole idea of anti-authority and the culture thereof. And so to me, I wanted something that, took on that aspect and captured parts of, a reality that I love, a movement that I love.
Okay.
So throughout the book, you're going to run into it kind of dances back and forth between the idea of obviously a game book, but also laid out and designed in such a way that it is also representative of the punk zines and magazines that I grew up with. So it has interviews in it with current musicians. It has stories from people all over America, from coast to coast. Like I have a few interviews in there from Matthew Orr from What Eight Games, because he went to a few concerts and everything in the punk back in his days. John McGuire, Hambone McGuire, runs the Vintage RPG podcast. He's in there, and he was in a punk band. He actually, I think his band once opened for My Chemical Romance. He has a band now called Secret Country. And I have people from all over just send in stories. I have a person from roller derby in there. And so I wanted to bring all that part of punk together, but at the same time create a game. So it has that, it's like a punk zine, but at the same time, it flows like a game book. So it is actually readable, because if you've ever seen zines, a lot of times they are just crazy and chaotic, and I absolutely love them. But I wanted something that is approachable for everybody. Now, as far as the game goes, one of my big boasts with this game is that you can take, there is a section of the game where you are making music. In this world, music is magic, magic is music. You play a song using something called riffs in the game. And if you follow the rules, you actually can take your dice rolls from the game and apply it to something and actually turn it into music in our world.
That's very cool. I know nothing about music, so I have no concept of how that would work. But
Yeah.
just as an idea, I think that's really neat.
It's one of those things where it's just there to flavor. I wanted something where there are mechanics for the common test, but I also wanted to pull in music. I wanted that to be a cornerstone, because there are so many games, even video games out there, that say heavy metal or punk or rock. And do you, other than maybe Rock Band, when you are playing this game, do you actually feel like a musician? Do you actually feel like there's that moment that it captures for you? and a lot of them is just like the this stereotype. And I was like, what if I could create a game that kind of shatters that barrier between two arts? Because writing and gaming is an art. You know, when we are playing something and presenting something and telling stories, stories are art. But could we take that and bridge that gap and actually turn it into music as well?